Americans are getting sick from sugar, yet politicians side with big sugar corporations, and you're paying for it. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Americans love their sugar. We eat and drink more of that white stuff than any other country per capita. Sugar is in everything, even things you wouldn't expect, like pizza, hot dogs, spaghetti sauce, and flaming hot cool ranch Doritos, which if you think about it is a snack food oxymoron. But too much sugar definitely leads to a lot of health issues, such as heart disease and diabetes. Death by chocolate isn't just a cute name for a dessert, it's a medical condition. That hasn't stopped Americans from shoveling sugary things into their mouths, and that's a problem. According to the National Cancer Institute, adult men are eating about 8 tablespoons of added sugar per day. That's almost 400 calories of just sugar. And don't even get me started with how much these little devils consume. It's very clear that America's deadly sugar addiction has reached epidemic levels. But while we should be concerned about sugar consumption, there's another problem that's hurting Americans. It's called cane burning. It's a cost-saving practice that farms rely on to burn down entire sugarcane fields after harvest. I know what you're thinking. Wait, they're burning sugar? That sounds delicious. Fields of caramel. Yeah, sugar addiction is a real problem. Anyway, actual cane burning is done to prevent wildfires that could start from dried cane leaves, which is important, but farmers could instead just cut the leaves and haul them away to prevent fire. But burning is cheaper. Yes, it's literally cheaper to fight fire with fire. But cane burning creates a lot of smoke. A lot of sugar-producing countries like Thailand, Brazil, and India have largely been phasing out the practice for alternative burn-free green harvesting. But large American sugar corporations like U.S. Sugar and Florida Crystals, also known as Big Sugar, prefer to keep cane burning. They want to avoid higher costs from extra sugar label, especially since the Oompa Loompas unionized. Cane burning has been a major political issue in Florida, America's largest producer of sugarcane. This has especially been a problem in the Everglades.
We all breathe the same air, you know.
Charles Jones has lived in the Glades all his life, working beneath the smoke and ash from the sugarcane fields for decades.
I call it black rain, because that's what it does. We just rain down black soot.
He used to accept the smoke as an inevitable fact of life, but now he tells CBS 12 News his family is suffering from respiratory problems.
I use it to breathe with, and all 3 of us have this.
Many residents in the Glades have complained of similar breathing problems thanks to ashes from cane burning, which locals call black snow. It especially doesn't help that some schools and hospitals are right next door to sugarcane fields. To cope with black snow, residents have to rush children inside and keep an inhaler or nebulizer nearby. It even affects recess time at schools. Leave it to Florida to make snow days something sinister. People were starting to have enough of it. But 2015 opposition against cane burning grew into a campaign backed by the Sierra Club called Stop the Burn. Residents are challenging sugar companies for exposing Glades residents to health risks and reduced property values because of cane burning. But Big Sugar is fighting back hard. More after the break. Welcome back. Cane burning is the most annoying, sweet-smelling smoke there is, except maybe vape clouds. But Big Sugar denies that cane burning is hurting residents. They argue that what they're doing is perfectly safe, citing tight regulations and data from the state's Department of Environmental Protection. Big Sugar even put up ads claiming that the Glades have good air quality compared to congested urban areas. Which, okay, if they're putting up ads that say, hey, at least our air is not the worst, you know something's up. Plus, an investigation by ProPublica and the Palm Beach Post last year found that the air quality in the Glades might not even be as okay-ish as Big Sugar is claiming. There's only one air quality monitor in the Glades region, and it's been malfunctioning since 2013. Documents obtained through public records requests show that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection flagged the faulty monitor in 2013, telling their federal counterparts that it didn't meet strict accuracy standards. Well, that sounds bad. I'm impressed they were able to retrieve anything near the Everglades and live to tell about it. In response to these media's findings, regulators have upgraded their pollution monitoring systems near burning sugarcane fields. But we also need to consider how air quality is being measured. Cane burning happens less than an hour at a time, which leads to very short yet intense spikes in pollution. So these cane burnings are like Joe Pesci in Home Alone, short, intense, and a hazard to children. But federal regulators still keep track of pollutants based on 24-hour and annual averages, which makes it seem a lot less bad. And Big Sugar is using those averages to support their science. The federal government is aware it needs to update regulations. Unfortunately, the government is like a guy with a mullet. Looks good at first glance, but all the parties and shady stuff are in the back. The Environmental Protection Agency under former President Donald Trump considered strengthening regulations, but moves toward it got rejected. That changed under President Joe Biden, because if there's one thing Biden's good at, it's moving in on things. But Florida lawmakers are working to stop a lot of these additional environmental regulations. Last April, both Republicans and Democrats in Florida passed the state's Right to Farm Act. This was put in place to protect agricultural producers from nuisance lawsuits. Nuisance lawsuits are typically filed by neighbors who want to stop people from doing something that produces nuisance, such as excessive noise, odor, dust, smoke, light, and increased traffic. Or, black snow that makes children run inside in terror. That minor a nuisance. Sponsors of the legislation say it wouldn't affect the pending lawsuit in the Glades, but that's kind of hard to believe when they explicitly mention shielding farmers from legal scrutiny over particle emissions. To be fair, the Right to Farm Act only shields farm owners who are already meeting environmental regulations. But also, to be fair, those environmental regulations say cane burning is A-OK. And to keep it that way, Big Sugar spends a lot of money lobbying Florida's politicians. In fact, Big Sugar outspends every other major crop industry combined when it comes to donating to political action committees. During the 2020 election cycle alone, Big Sugar flexed more than $11 million. A white powder that makes millions and leads to corruption? I can't tell who's the bigger threat, El Chapo or Willy Wonka. Some of the biggest recipients of Big Sugar money include Republican Marco Rubio and Democrat Bill Nelson. Big Sugar even invites politicians to King Ranch, one of America's premier hunting grounds. Since late 2011, U.S. Sugar paid more than $95,000 to the Republican Party of Florida for at least 20 weekend trips. Big Sugar is paying for hunting trips. What are they hunting, gummy bears? There's no doubt that Big Sugar is heavily invested in keeping its industry alive. Some see cane burning as a necessary evil. After all, sugar farming provides jobs for the local community. Sugar companies argue it's necessary to keep cane burning to keep production costs cheap. Otherwise, the costs from alternative harvesting methods would be transferred to consumers. But Americans are already shouldering high costs thanks to Stalinist-style domestic sugar production. Stalinist-style sugar? What's that? Literal jawbreakers for anyone who speaks against you? I'll explain more after the break. Welcome back. Did you know that we're paying more for sugar than what people normally pay in the international market? According to Americans for Tax Reform, a conservative advocacy group, the average wholesale price of domestically produced sugar in the U.S. is more than twice the average world price of sugar. This can sometimes even go up to 3 times the world market price. That's terrible. But the fact that sugar is way cheaper in the UK would explain their teeth. Many blame the U.S. government for acting like the leader of a candy-coated cartel with the U.S. sugar program. Here's a quick rundown of how the U.S. sugar program works. The government guarantees domestic sugar producers a minimum price for sugar. It supports prices by providing loans to sugar processors. This goes through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA for short. Borrowers can either repay loans with interest or, if sugar prices are too low, forfeit their sugar to the federal government. Because processors will simply forfeit their sugar collateral if the market price dips below that set by the loans, the USDA must ensure that supply is sufficiently restricted thus boosting prices so that sugar used as collateral will be sold instead of surrendered. That's the grossest use of a sugar dip I've seen since the chocolate fountain at Golden Corral. It's an arrangement that the U.S. Government Accountability Office says increases consumer costs while benefiting producers. And to keep prices high, we've put tariffs on foreign sugar imports. American sugar industry officials say that we need all this to protect U.S. producers from competitors like Brazil. Otherwise, the U.S. economy would lose tens of thousands of jobs and become dependent on foreign sources to meet sugar demand, like from Candyland. But according to the American Enterprise Institute, we're concentrating money on a shrinking number of farm businesses. They say the U.S. sugar program is a job killer. On a net basis, employment losses in the U.S. food processing sector more than offset any positive employment impacts in the U.S. sugar processing sector. So yeah, both our wallets and our health are being screwed over by big sugar, which is a job killer and a killer killer. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like the show, please know we cannot do it without direct support from viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered and contribute $1 or more per episode to help us keep the show going. So click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.